Hey everyone, I've got to lend my hand to Demon Souls now for a top 5 toughest bosses video. It's kinda turning into a thing now where I go through each game talking a little bit about the bosses I found to be the best and or the toughest. Demon Souls kicked off this merciless franchise with its brutal style of gameplay, so it would be sheer wrong of me to ignore it any longer. I have to pay some attention to the bosses that lurk within Demon Souls. Now, before I go any further, I need to disclose that the bosses I mention in this list are based off of a melee strength based character. The only magic I was using was the warding defense spell and the occasional heal throughout the level. So, with that out of the way, let's start off with number 5, Maneaters. Right, the Maneaters certainly gave me a bit of a seeing to when I played the game for the first time. Up until this point, my Crescent Falchion was serving me well and I wasn't having any issues whatsoever. The difficulty with the Maneaters lies within the fact that there's 2 of them. The fight will start you off with just one, but it's actually on a timer when his friend will turn up. It's not like his health gets whittled down to a certain amount and then his friend shows up. It's just a timer. So essentially, you could have done very little damage to the first and suddenly you've got 2 to deal with, and both with near enough full health. Maybe that wouldn't be so bad if they stayed on the goddamn ground, but they don't. They fly around, wasting time, mocking you, mocking your character build that has no ranged attacks. The sword I was using just wasn't cutting it, no pun intended. This was becoming such an issue, I had to back out and look for something, anything that could deal more damage. Thanks to the internet, I found out about the meat cleaver. You get the meat cleaver from the Adjudicator's boss soul. This made the fight instantly easy, got them first try after that. Number 4, Vanguard. I really like Vanguard. I love that the devs gave you this challenge in the game's tutorial. For all intents and purposes, you are supposed to die to this boss, as dying will trigger a cutscene that brings you into the Nexus. However, it is not impossible, and it is definitely something you should challenge yourself to do if you're a fan of the Soul series. For me, it was like trying to get Sir alone to commit seppuku. It was a goal I set myself, and after a few tries I managed to do it. As design goes, Vanguard is fairly simple looking. He's just a big guy wielding a big axe, looking to kill whatever is standing in his way. As usual with the big guys, they are slow and mostly predictable. The key for me was just to stay locked off and run rings around him. Actually, I managed to get him in a loop of doing the butt slam attack over and over, which is probably the easiest to avoid. But yeah, he's at number 4 because he could practically one-shot you. It's best to just not get hit. Imagine that as a strategy, just don't get hit. Number 3 is Flame Lurker. Flame Lurker is probably the best fight in the game. He's certainly the first that's going to give you any real bother. In fact, he was the first that I died to if you discount Vanguard. He's just a classic Souls boss. He's fast, he's aggressive, and keeps you engaged. But what's nice about him is his attacks don't do a totally ridiculous amount of damage. You'll still be able to heal and jump back in when you're ready. It's a nice teaser of a boss of what was to come in later games. I think it's a test for players to see how well they'll manage. Maybe the devs thought, if you can't beat Flame Lurker, and certainly if you're not having fun trying to beat Flame Lurker, then just get the hell out of this game. Just leave. Once you defeat Flame Lurker too, you can give his soul to the blacksmith, and that unlocks the ability to trade for other boss souls, which is a must-have. That alone makes Flame Lurker something to look forward to. Number 2, Dragon God. Yeah, it's Dragon God. Yep, Dragon God. What can you say about Dragon God? A boss so bad they decided to replicate him in Dark Souls 1 with the Bed of Chaos. Why? Not needed. I realise there's probably safe methods of taking him down without being struck by his fists or his fire attack, just like the firebomb method in the Bed of Chaos fight. But the point remains that if you don't know about these things, then he's nothing but a pain that you unfortunately have to deal with, as he isn't optional. I died many times to Dragon God, simply trying to learn when and when it wasn't safe to move. Completely tedious. And what makes it worse is his placement immediately after Flame Lurker. You're given a fantastic main course and then served up a plate of bullshit for dessert. Ugh, I really have a strong dislike for Dragon God. He may just be the worst creation they've ever made. Worse than Bed of Chaos. And I say that only because I know Bed of Chaos. I'm familiar with Bed of Chaos. I know where to go without falling through the holes with Bed of Chaos. At this point, Dragon God is nothing but cheap bullshit. Number 1. Number 1 is fittingly King Allant, the last true boss of the game. Now, I've played the game to completion twice and only died to him once, but don't let that fool you. He can still be a tough nut. He's got a massive AoE that you have to run to the hills to avoid, and he's got this mad crazy dash attack that seems to cover half the arena in the blink of an eye. Get ready to stuff your pockets full of grass for this one. Now, unfortunately, during my fight I kept one-handing the meat cleaver, which is so painful for me to watch. How I didn't correct myself, I don't know. Two-handing weapons in Demon's Souls deals out so much more damage, it's very noticeable. Just not noticeable enough for me, apparently. But yeah, King Allant for number 1. He's a wee bit like Sir Alone actually, just not as quite sophisticated. Anyway, that's Demon's Souls. Top game. I really want them to remaster this game and for the love of God release it for PC. I think a lot of people missed out on Demon's Souls due to the fact that it was an exclusive and not many people had the PS3 compared to the Xbox. Demon's Souls is just begging for a Scholar of the First Sin treatment. Get this game on the PC, give it 60 frames at 1080p and let a wider audience enjoy this game. Make it happen! Anyway, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for a possible Dark Souls 1 top 5. Ooh, the suspense. Okay, thanks for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye!